used to love while others used to pray.
Robin Gibb didn't just write songs, he poured his soul into them. Every lyric he penned, every note he sang, carried this raw, honest emotion that somehow hit home for millions. There's something hauntingly beautiful about the way his songs unfold. You can feel his private sorrow wrapped in melody, like you're eavesdropping on a heart quietly breaking. His voice didn't just sing about love, regret, or hope, it felt them. There was a vulnerability in Robin's writing that made his pain feel universal. That's the magic that will make you ask, was he crying while writing those songs? Today we will know the favorite Gibb. As one of the three Gibb brothers in the legendary Bee Gees, Robin often stood in the shadow of his twin brother Maurice and his older brother Barry. Yet his personality was anything but overshadowed. He had this distinctive voice, clear, emotive, and haunting, that could melt your heart or send chills down your spine. But beyond his voice, what really made Robin unique was his complex, almost enigmatic personality. He was often described as sensitive and deeply emotional, which came through in his music and the way he interacted with those around him. If you dug a little deeper, you'd find that Robin wasn't just a pop star with a golden falsetto. He was a thinker, a guy who felt things deeply and expressed those feelings in a way that connected with millions. People who knew him often mentioned his dry wit and a kind of stubborn streak, which made him fiercely loyal but also sometimes difficult to get close to. There's something beautiful about that mix, someone who's both tender and tough, who's introspective but also sharp as a tack. Robin's personality wasn't loud or flashy, but it was magnetic in its quiet intensity. One thing that set Robin apart was his role in the Bee Gees' dynamic. While Barry often took the lead with songwriting and Maurice was the multi-instrumentalist glue, Robin's voice and presence brought a unique emotional texture to their songs. Tracks like I Started a Joke or Massachusetts carry that unmistakable Robin vibe, wistful, a little melancholic, and profoundly sincere. He had a way of making you feel the song wasn't just entertainment, but a real piece of his soul. That emotional honesty was rare, especially in the pop world of the 60s and 70s, where style often overshadowed substance. Robin's uniqueness also showed in how he navigated fame and the pressures of the music industry. The Bee Gees were known for their disco era, which propelled them to superstardom. But Robin often felt conflicted about some of their massive commercial success, especially with the shift in their musical style. He wasn't just a star chasing hits. He cared about authenticity and artistic integrity. That tension between commercial success and personal expression added layers to his personality. It wasn't always easy for him to be in the spotlight, but he handled it with a kind of grace and realism that made him relatable. And then his voice alone is heaven for many people. There's something hauntingly beautiful about Robin Gibb's voice, something that seems to float between this world and the next. From the moment he opens his mouth to sing, you feel it, that tremble, that raw, aching tone. It's like he's not just singing a song, he's telling a story from his soul. You don't even have to know the lyrics to feel it. He could be singing in a language you've never heard, and it would still hit you straight in the heart. That's what makes Robin Gibb magical. His voice doesn't just entertain, it moves people. For a lot of fans, Robin was the emotional core of the Bee Gees. Sure, Barry had that unmistakable falsetto and Maurice held the band together musically, but when it came to pure emotion, that was Robin's domain. They're unforgettable because of the way Robin feels them when he sings. His voice cracks in just the right place, and he draws out notes like he's trying to hold on to something he's already lost. It's almost impossible not to feel it too. There's this vulnerability in Robin's singing that made people connect with him on a deeply human level. He wasn't trying to be perfect. He wasn't flashy. He just was honest, fragile, genuine. And in a world where so much of pop music is polished and produced to death, that kind of sincerity stands out like a beacon. People don't just love his voice because it sounds good. They love it because it feels real. It's comforting in its sadness, kind of like talking to an old friend who really understands what you're going through. What's really fascinating is how versatile Robin was. He could be melancholic and ghostly one minute, and then deliver something upbeat and catchy the next. Even in the Bee Gees' disco era, when the group was known for their energetic, glittery hits, Robin's voice still carried this underlying soulfulness. You could be dancing to Tragedy or Nights on Broadway, and still get chills when his part came in. It's that contrast between the beat and the emotion that made their music so unforgettable. And then there's the loyalty. Robin had this quiet dignity about him, and fans respected that. He didn't chase the spotlight the way some stars do. He wasn't constantly trying to reinvent himself or stay trendy. He just kept doing what he loved, singing with heart. And that authenticity earned him a kind of timelessness. Even decades after the height of the Bee Gees' fame, people still discover his music and fall in love with it. That kind of staying power doesn't come from hype. It comes from depth. People love Robin Gibb because his voice made them feel something, something deep, something personal, something that lingered long after the song ended. His magic wasn't just in the notes he hit but in the ones he held, the silences he let sit, the pain he didn't hide. Robin didn't just sing, he poured himself into every word. And when someone does that, really does that, it leaves a mark on your heart. That's why we still talk about him. That's why we still listen. That's why we love him. Robin's personality was a beautiful mix of contradictions, emotional yet reserved, serious but with a sly sense of humor. A star who valued sincerity above all. His uniqueness wasn't just in his unmistakable voice or the music he helped create, but in the way he made those around him feel. Whether it was through a song, a conversation, or simply by being himself, Robin reminds us that sometimes the quietest voices have the most powerful stories to tell. Well, because he had a huge story to tell, and it was not all good. The man behind the music, behind all the glitter, fame, and chart-topping records, was a man who faced deep personal struggles, heartbreak, and health battles that shaped not only his life but also his music. Robin Gibb was much more than just a pop star. He was a deeply emotional person who poured his soul into his songs, often using music as a way to process pain and loss. Robin was born in 1949 on the Isle of Man, one of 3 brothers who would go on to form the legendary Bee Gees. Even though he found fame early in life, things weren't always easy. One of the first major personal challenges he faced was the tragic death of his younger brother Andy Gibb in 1988. Andy had also been a musician and had a promising solo career, but he struggled with harmful substance addiction and depression. His passing hit Robin especially hard. The two were very close, and Robin often spoke about the grief he felt. That pain found its way into Robin's songwriting in subtle ways. There's a certain melancholy in many of his ballads, a longing for lost time and lost people. Family meant everything to Robin, but it was also a source of turmoil. The relationship between the Gibb brothers wasn't always smooth. Like most siblings who worked together, there were egos, creative differences, and periods of tension, especially between Robin and Barry. At one point in 1969, Robin actually left the Bee Gees after a disagreement about the direction of the band. He tried going solo for a while and even had a hit with "Saved by the Bell," which was a surprisingly introspective song full of emotion. But despite the break, the brothers found their way back to each other. That ability to reunite after conflict says a lot about the strength of their bond. Health problems also plagued Robin for most of his life. In the later years, he battled severe illnesses, including colon and liver cancer. Even during those painful times, he didn't stop writing or performing. It's almost as if music gave him strength when his body was failing. One of his final works, the classical piece The Titanic Requiem, which he co-wrote with his son R.J. Gibb, was completed while he was seriously ill. That project shows how deeply connected Robin was to themes of tragedy, memory, and history. It was a bold and emotional work that showed a different side of him, far from the disco lights and pop tunes. On the personal front, Robin led a life full of love and heartbreak. He was married twice and had 4 children. His first marriage to Molly Hullis ended in divorce, but he later found lasting happiness with his second wife Dwina Murphy, a writer and artist. Their relationship was a bit unconventional. Dwina was known to be a Druid priestess, and their home was full of spiritual and artistic energy. Robin seemed to embrace that, especially in his later years when he became more introspective and philosophical about life. He was also deeply affected by the loss of his twin brother Maurice in 2003. That death seemed to mark the beginning of the end for Robin. Losing Maurice was like losing a part of himself. A lot of Robin's music reflected his inner emotional world. While Barry often took the lead in upbeat tracks, Robin's voice really shined in haunting ballads and more reflective pieces. His songs carry a kind of loneliness and vulnerability that felt personal. There was something about Robin's voice. It cracked in just the right places, carried just enough sadness, that made you believe every word he sang. He had this rare ability to sound both fragile and powerful at the same time. Gibb's life was a mixture of dazzling success and deep personal pain. Through it all, he kept writing, kept singing, and kept sharing his heart with the world. Whether he was dealing with the loss of a loved one, his own health problems, or the emotional ups and downs of family life, he never stopped creating. His songs are more than just music. They're a window into his soul. He was a man who faced his demons with a microphone in hand, and in doing so gave us music that still moves people today. And so this song will make you close your eyes and make you sad for no reason. How Deep Is Your Love, a song from the soul. There's something almost magical about a song that can reach into your chest, wrap itself around your heart, and make it beat in tune with every note. How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees, written in the late 70s, is exactly that kind of song. It's soft, soulful, vulnerable, and timeless. Though all three Gibb brothers, Robin, Barry, and Maurice, were involved in writing it, there's a particular emotional fingerprint in the song that feels like Robin's spirit was pouring into every lyric, every pause, every yearning chord. This wasn't just any time for music. It was the golden age of disco, glitz and dance floors bathed in flashing lights. But right in the middle of that, Robin helped give the world something slower, gentler, something real. How Deep Is Your Love wasn't written for a club. It was written for the heart. And if you listen carefully, you can hear a kind of emotional honesty that doesn't come from a commercial formula. It comes from life. Robin Gibb, with his haunting vibrato and melancholic tone, always had a way of channeling emotion that felt deeply personal. He had been through loss, heartbreak, and battles with fame. Even though Barry sang lead on this particular track, Robin's lyrical input and his emotional compass played a huge role in shaping its soul. You can sense that the lyrics aren't just romantic fluff. They're almost like a quiet prayer for connection. I believe in you. You know the door to my very soul. That's not just a line. That's someone opening their chest and handing you their heart. When they wrote it, the Bee Gees were under pressure. The Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was taking shape, and expectations were sky high. But instead of caving into commercial demands, they reached inward. Robin always had that introspective, poetic nature, and you can feel it here. He wasn't interested in what was trendy, he was interested in what was true. And isn't that what we all want? To be loved not just on the surface but deeply. To have someone who doesn't just say, I love you, but shows it in a way that wraps around your insecurities and says, you're safe with me. That's what How Deep Is Your Love tries to ask, not just, do you love me, but, can I trust your love? Is it strong enough to hold me when I'm falling? That's a very Robin Gibb question. The real beauty of the song lies in its simplicity. There are no flashy vocal acrobatics or complex metaphors, just raw feeling wrapped in smooth melodies and sung like a secret between lovers. It makes you want to close your eyes and remember someone you once trusted completely, or wish you could. Robin wasn't just writing a love song. He was leaving a piece of himself in the world. He was showing us that even in a world obsessed with speed and spectacle, there's immense power in being soft, honest, and open. And decades later, people are still slow dancing to this song at weddings, whispering its lyrics to each other in dark rooms, and crying to it when love feels far away. When we think about How Deep Is Your Love, we're not just thinking about a chart-topping ballad. We're thinking about Robin Gibb pouring his own heartache and hope into something that would outlive him. It's a song that says quietly but insistently, I'm here. I'm vulnerable. Please don't break me. And that's why it still resonates. At some point, we've all felt the same. Yes, even the world loved it. A song that resonates. The world wasn't quite ready for just how powerful and timeless the song would become when the Bee Gees released How Deep Is Your Love. It hit the airwaves during the disco era at a time when the Bee Gees were already riding high on a wave of popularity thanks to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. But this track wasn't just another disco anthem. It was a tender, emotional ballad that showed off the softer, more romantic side of the band. And people loved it. From the very beginning, it was clear that this song struck a different chord. It wasn't just about dancing or flashy fashion, it was about something real. Love, vulnerability, connection. Thanks to Robin and his brothers for writing it. Listeners around the world instantly fell in love with it. The song's smooth harmonies, soft instrumental arrangement, and heartfelt lyrics made it stand out. Barry Gibb's falsetto, which became something of a Bee Gees signature, gave the song a dreamy, almost ethereal quality. Couples slow danced to it at weddings. Teenagers listened to it on repeat during their first heartbreak. And even people who weren't necessarily into the whole disco scene found themselves humming along. It became one of those songs that could fit any mood, comforting when you're down, romantic when you're in love, nostalgic when you're thinking back. The public reaction was overwhelmingly positive, and it climbed the charts with ease, eventually hitting #1 in the US. Over the years, How Deep Is Your Love didn't just fade into history like so many hits from the 70s. It stuck. People kept listening to it, sharing it, covering it. Artists from all genres, R&B, pop, even jazz, have taken a shot at reinterpreting it. But no version has quite matched the soft magic of the original. That says a lot about the legacy of the song. It's more than just a Bee Gees classic. It's a song that has become part of the soundtrack of life for millions of people. Every few years, a new generation discovers it, maybe through a movie, a TV show, or just by stumbling across it online, and they fall in love all over again. Public opinion on the song has remained incredibly positive over the decades. It's often listed among the greatest love songs of all time, and not just in fan polls, but by serious music critics too. What's special about How Deep Is Your Love is that it manages to feel both timeless and deeply personal. People don't just like it, they feel it. They associate it with specific memories, important people, and meaningful moments. That emotional connection is part of what makes it so enduring. The song has cemented the Bee Gees not just as kings of disco but as incredibly versatile songwriters and performers. How Deep Is Your Love helped show the world that they weren't just about upbeat dance tracks. They could write ballads that went straight to the heart. It's no surprise that the song is still played on the radio, still included in romantic playlists, and still capable of stopping people in their tracks with just a few opening notes. The public might not always agree on everything, especially when it comes to music. But when it comes to How Deep Is Your Love, most people seem to agree, it's something special. It did not end there. The masterpieces continued. The greatest love songs ever written. Let's talk about other songs the Gibbs have written and remained loved by everyone, not just the older generations. When you hear the opening notes of To Love Somebody, there's a certain ache in the melody that instantly pulls you in. Written by Barry and Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees, this soul ballad wasn't just another pop track from the late 60s. It was a deeply emotional expression of longing and love, meant for someone with a voice as powerful as Otis Redding. In fact, the song was originally written for Redding, though he sadly passed away before ever getting the chance to record it. But even in its original form, sung by Barry Gibb with that quivering vulnerability in his voice, the song captured something universal, the pain of loving someone who doesn't or can't love you back. What makes To Love Somebody so powerful is how simple it is. The lyrics aren't overly poetic or complex, but they hit straight to the heart. Lines like, "You don't know what it's like to love somebody the way I love you," feel like something anyone might say in a moment of raw honesty, and that's what makes it relatable. The instrumentation is equally restrained, with soft strings and a gentle rhythm that lets the emotional weight of the vocals take center stage. Barry's delivery walks a tightrope between tenderness and desperation. And it's that tension that gives the song its enduring impact. At the time of its release, the song had only modest success on the charts. It peaked at number 17 in the US and number 41 in the UK. But it didn't take long for artists around the world to recognize its brilliance. Over the years, it's been covered by legends like Nina Simone, Janis Joplin, Michael Bolton, and even Michael Bublé. Each version brings something new, but they all hold on to the heart of the original, that aching, soul-deep cry for love. That's part of what's made To Love Somebody one of the most covered songs in pop music history. No matter the genre, no matter the decade, the emotions in this song are timeless. Even beyond the music world, the song's legacy lives on. It pops up in movies, TV shows, and playlists whenever someone needs to set a mood of vulnerability and yearning. It's not flashy or loud, but it stays with you long after the final note fades. For the Bee Gees, who later became known for their disco hits in the 70s, this song remains one of their most soulful and stripped-down pieces, a reminder that behind the glitter and falsetto was always a deep well of songwriting talent. Tragedy from the Bee Gees' 1979 album Spirits Having Flown is one of those songs that hits you like a tidal wave. Loud, intense, and totally unforgettable. While the Bee Gees are often remembered for their falsetto-laced love songs and their role in defining the disco era, Tragedy proves they could do so much more. It's a song bursting with drama and theatrical flair, blending rock energy with disco rhythm in a way that very few artists could pull off. From the very first second, with that ominous synth explosion, you know you're in for something big, and it delivers. One of the reasons Tragedy stands out is its sheer emotional weight. It's not a subtle song. It's all about heartbreak and devastation, but it's done with such flair and intensity that it feels almost operatic. Barry Gibb's vocal performance is explosive, stretching his falsetto to the absolute limit as he belts out lyrics filled with desperation and pain. There's this almost apocalyptic urgency in the production, the crashing drums, the dramatic strings, the wailing guitars, that turns a typical love-gone-wrong story into something that feels like the end of the world. What really makes Tragedy so great, though, is how it showcases the Gibb brothers' range as songwriters. It's easy to pigeonhole them as disco kings, but this track proves they had a deep well of musical ideas and could write songs that didn't just make you dance, they made you feel. There's a boldness to Tragedy, a willingness to be over-the-top and emotional and theatrical that gives it lasting power. It doesn't sound like it's trying to be cool or understated. It's a full-throttle performance, and that's what makes it stick. Who would forget about the next song? It might be your parents' favorite, but admit it, the words are classic and relatable. I Started a Joke by the Bee Gees, released in 1968, stands out as one of their most emotional and haunting tracks. It's the kind of song that sticks with you, not just because of its melody but because of the deep, aching sadness it carries. People often connect with it on a personal level, even if they can't quite explain why. The lyrics tell the story of someone who feels like they've caused a chain of events that went terribly wrong. It's all about regret, isolation, and the kind of guilt that eats away at you, that sense of being misunderstood, of doing something small that turns into something tragic. It hits home for a lot of people. One of the biggest reasons the song feels so emotional is Robin Gibb's voice. His vocal delivery is raw and vulnerable, almost like he's confessing something painful. There's this quiet intensity in the way he sings that makes the sadness feel even more real. He doesn't belt it out or try to impress, it's more like he's letting you in on something deeply personal. That honesty is what really draws people in. Musically, the song is pretty simple, but that's actually part of what makes it so powerful. The stripped-down arrangement lets the emotion shine through without distraction. The melody itself is soft and melancholic, and it wraps around you in a way that feels both comforting and heartbreaking. It's the kind of tune that lingers in your mind long after it ends. People have loved "I Started a Joke" for decades because it feels human. Everyone knows what it's like to feel regret or to think back on something they wish they could change. The song captures that feeling in such a clear and honest way. Plus, it has that timeless quality, it's not tied to any specific era, even though it came out in the late 60s. Whether you're going through something tough or just in a reflective mood, it's the kind of song that makes you stop and really feel something. That's probably why it still resonates so strongly with listeners today. Forever in our hearts. Some bands come and go, making a splash for a while before fading into the background. But then there are those rare once-in-a-lifetime groups that leave a mark so deep, they never really disappear. The Bee Gees are one of those. To their fans, old and new, they're not just a band, they're a feeling, a memory, a sound that sticks with you for life. Whether it's that irresistible disco groove, the high, aching falsettos, or the emotional weight behind the lyrics, the Bee Gees found a way to weave themselves into the very fabric of people's lives. The bond between Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb was something special. Even through ups and downs, creative disagreements, and personal struggles, they always came back to each other. And that love, that brotherhood, you could hear it in every harmony. You didn't even have to be around during the disco era to feel their impact. Their songs have this timeless quality that keeps bringing new generations in. One minute you're hearing How Deep Is Your Love playing in a movie scene, and the next you're down a rabbit hole discovering all their albums. That's how it starts for a lot of fans. They stumble upon a song and suddenly it's like they found something they didn't even know they were missing. Even now, years after Maurice and Robin passed, and with Barry being the last living member, the Bee Gees still feel alive. Their music plays at weddings, in cafes, on long road trips, and in quiet rooms where someone's just trying to make sense of their feelings. Their songs have this comforting familiarity, like an old friend you can always turn to. And for the fans, it's more than nostalgia. It's loyalty. It's love. The Bee Gees were part of our stories. And in return, we keep telling theirs. What's your favorite Bee Gees song? Leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this.